Hey guys, Crypto Sniper here. Update on the XBT USD. So I'm taking a look at Kraken because I need some charts that are not overly annotated. Yep. So where are we at? So already for me, this is really interesting. This is our relative low 2, and the amazing thing is we literally stopped 60 cents short. So the low there 6449.4, 6449.4, and that low 6450. So you've got a 0.6, literally 60 American cents difference here, and this is probably support traders, die hard Dunkirk holding the line buyers, and they've actually temporarily stopped the sell-off. My suspicion as a key level of significance is that it will fall reasonably quickly, and in fact any stall we have, let's say we had a flag like grind for a bit, that would be an exceptional case. I think it'll fall today, but let's say you got a little bit of that. The longer the wall holds, the greater the tide will flood through it once it holds, which would probably mean that you would then run the relative low 1 as well. The interesting part about all of that, if you had such a flag structure, for example, you would probably have a target like that would set up, depending on how long it's flags or channels for, it still holds, and you would project from the top point of the line. But let's just say something like that, already it's going to go right the way through both the low 1 and the low 2. Why is that significant, and why is the low 2 even significant? Well, technically speaking, you could argue that was a very small third impulse. It's accurate. We had a triggering event. We had a big increase of volume, but it's not a volume increase quite like you had defense at the relative low 2, and the rejection eventually of that 6,073 low. That was our head and shoulders target roughly here. So it just about dipped 6,000 before reversing quite strongly. So there was bigger volume there and there. So it was a significant break, this, but across the whole structure of this pattern, it wasn't huge. You could have argued maybe there will be support here, and a big pullback, maybe even into the 8,000s, and you have this third impulse and then you fall. That still could happen, but the point is we're so close now. There's generally almost a fatal attraction for the line when you get too close. In other words, it's like a magnet. Once you run it too close to something that has an opposite pole, they're almost drawn to each other, and then they run through each other. So it's quite surprising to see the defense just 60 cents short, but I suspect it supports buyers that have felt, well, just below the 6,500 mark will be buyers again, because it supported once here before, therefore it must support there again. I'm afraid that's not accurate as a trading rule, but nonetheless it's traditional technical thinking, and so that's quite possibly why we've had a short stall there. But there was a lot of inherent selling momentum that was here, and it's very unlikely you reverse on a dime. So what would probably shock me would be this sort of V-type reversal. I just don't see it. So there's a lot of weakness and fear, and there's a lot of burnt hands, and I think you're going to probably break this today. Long scenario would be weak grind and then a break, which would probably take out both the lows 2 and lows 1. That would then get all the headlines. In fact, even running the low 2 here is going to grab some headlines, and it's going to be big ass news. By the way, playing great defense, this is what many people maybe not executed perfectly on this, and recognize the bear market and recognize the continuation patterns. Pop over to the marketsniper.com. We've got free webinar there for you. There's a button that says free webinar, a short questionnaire, literally tick box, to make sure it's for you. It's not necessarily for everybody. You need to be resourced, you need to be ready to learn, and ready to work in a community where we transfer a skill. There will be a great webinar anyway, whether you think it's suitable or not for you, and you can attend that. There's no obligation. You'll get an email. Check your folders, so make sure you check your spam folder to make sure it hasn't ended up in the wrong place. Once you register, you'll get the invite for the webinar jam. how it's not what you make, it's what you keep webinar, and how to trade rate defense and even make money in bear markets. There's a couple of guys actually from our community that have made more money on the short side than they made on the bull long. Yes, as their skills have grown, they've been better situation to support and exploit the conditions that have come subsequently. Markets do fall hard, and they can be profitable if you're on the right side. Anyway, you don't have to short if you don't want to. You can just learn to play great defense too. So if you're not comfortable with being short on cryptos, you can just know when to step back and allow your BTC value to grow by not being in the asset category when it sells off. So all those options remain available. Come and find out how. Anyway, so let's going back to Bitcoin. So my suspicion is we're going to be run that and that. That will be major news breaking events once low 2 and then quite probably low 1. If the longer we stall here, probably the pressure will build higher that it'll be one large move. If we just trickle through from today, it's quite possible that there's a possibility there will be a rally in between the two values. If we held back for a sustained period, I suspect then that pressure will just be so much that we'll have another very strong impulsive bar that'll break. That could be accompanied by bigger volume. We don't know. So this has been reasonable volume on the big time frame for this triggering event, what we believe to be a triggering event, aka that low 3. A couple of other things we put a few guys into on the community and took for ourselves as well. Some BCH shorts. So this was the interesting structure that Bitcoin was in. In fact, might have different chart for you. Let's have a look at all of them. We had overperformed to a target, so initially we got sucked in thinking, could this be a long? Some of you might remember. And then we reverted short. We recognized there was a target, and then it was winding up. We were adding further shorts. This is not bottoming. This should continue, and there's downside target generated by this. And this is where, you know, something like the method is really, really useful if you've got folks that know what they're doing and are applying it. In fact, I might have a Snagit picture for it, even better still. So on the upside, you had an inverted in BCH, you traded down, made that target. You then came up, you ran into the funnel, that was the bearish funnel of the downside, wind up, and then you had to smash momentum with momentum through the previous resistance level. You then got that little fractal, that was an upside setup. Remember, this is 2 hourly, so on a M30, that's a reasonable time frame one. Overperformance. Note the overperformance begets further underperformance. Slap in the face, return move all the way back to the funnel after overperformance. This should remind you of Bitcoin running up from 1500s in January or $700 all the way to just about 20,000. Overperformance again, and then smack down, and then first inverted in the new trend, downside target here. And you broke there, you return move into the funnel, fail, you broke this upside, so you've now let go of this ledge that was created for this somewhat descending triangle to a traditional technical analyst, although we saw the slap in the face and the inverted. That's the value of the method. You'll learn about it if you come on board. And then the rally back through the funnel, and then the smash down that breaks the first of the inverted downside ones and supports on the green, winding up, waiting to break the green, smashing down to the green. Now might rally for a bit, but then we expect it to make the downside target of this little fractal over here. So I've annotated this chart to show you what I think comes next for Bitcoin Cash against Bitcoin. Now that's interesting for some people because they want to be just in the crypto market. They can't bear to be out. They're long-term holders. Well, you could, if you're a Bitcoin fan, you could be short BCH against BTC. And you would accumulate some Bitcoin value. I would still say you want to be in fiat, you want to be shorting BCH USD, which is equally good and even better, in fact, in terms of overall return, because the whole asset class is selling off. So yeah, that's a little bit of an idea of the diagrams. That's how HVF method gives you the key levels and the targeting. That was the previous downside target. I think you're probably going to overperform even to this possibly and run close to and stop somewhere here. You might even spill through, but you probably want to start taking off at that point. So Bitcoin Cash to underperform in percentage terms, which it's already been doing Bitcoin from up top here. We can take that volume by price off, by the way. Just in fact, let's just show everybody one small little trick. If you know where to put it, which you won't know, it's ironic what the volume by price actually gives you. Note here how the axis and midpoint of our funnel runs through the most significant volume by price parameter. That's the middle right there between the red and the green, and it splits it in half. You'll learn why and how significant that is, and how that supports you in recognizing early that you have an inverted, and that it is a high slung ascending inverted first in a new trend. That'll mean nothing to you. That's okay. You'll learn in a program as well. Anyway, this looks like continuation if we look at this. So we also called EOS and said EOS is going to be down. So we're looking at the top 5. We want liquidity. And in these moments, actually, often there's a lack of liquidity. There's just not enough buyers. And the shorts are climbing. So we've got to watch that. We don't want when the shorts get too extreme in size and nature, it might be time to start actually retreating, because the last time the shorts were too extreme, we actually got a pump eventually. So you don't want to be on the same side of the boat as the 91%, because that's the side that's going to tip over face first. You want to be ready to jump overboard on the other side. So this looks like continuation, much like all the other alt majors. So here's what I was just warning. This is longs and shorts. We pointed out that the early shorts are often right, and that was this area here. This is the orange graph, so the shorts are the orange graph, and the longs are usually wrong. They were buying into the weak moment, and they were buying into here. On this chart, you've got to bear in mind that the only time the shorts were larger than the longs, most people don't understand shorting and can't do it. The only time they were larger than the longs was just before the relative low to pump on BTC. So if we get the big chart, it was here, over there. In fact, here's the split. This is the chart and the work I was showing you. That was the only time since the bear market. So let's just do it specifically for the bear market. At this point here, there were more people short, 37,962, and the longs were slightly less. So generally, most people are leveraged long all the time. The 91%ers, who usually are the least efficient traders, they are net long. That key moment when too many folk were short preceded just before a push up and then a up move, and then those shorts were liquidated under pressure here, and they were part of covering into that pump and created that pump. So there were a bit too many shorts at that level. That was around 38,000. We are getting higher here at 28,000, but we're still the leverage longs are still higher than the shorts, but it's more finely balanced. So if this suddenly moves in a highly accelerated fashion and gets into the mid-30s, you might want to just take temporary profits. Even though we're within a structure and a setup, you might just get greater relief rallies driven by short covering. Okay, that's all I've got to say for you. An update. Remember the webinar. Come and be part of that. Very close to releasing our platform, a brand new platform. So it's going to look lovely and amazing. Come and be part of that if it suits and if you feel aligned by what we're doing and saying. We really trade, and a lot of our guys are smiling for playing good defense and even taking some money out of the market in a positive way in